And welcome to the Marcus and Mike Show. I am Mike. The man over here to my left side, if you're watching this on YouTube, is Marcus. Marcus, how you doing this morning or this afternoon, evening, whatever time frame it is?
Yeah, I think we're in the afternoon. Yeah, no, I'm doing good, Michael. Just ready to get going.
Hey,
how about yourself?
It's a beautiful day here in Southern Indiana. Much storms. I love the springtime storms happening. Like, I don't know how storms happen down there in Texas, but here in the Midwest, usually like the afternoon atmosphere gets all fired up and tornadoes and hail.
Oh wow,
I love it. But just like what Marcus said, guys, we are going to jump right into it here. Playoff basketball is in full swing. We kind of got those snoozer of series out of the way a little bit here. Maybe the Rockets Warriors series might be a snooze fest, but the rest of them definitely aren't so much of a snooze fest here. Some scores from Tuesday night. Bucks did beat the Celtics 123-102. Warriors beat the Rockets 115-109. And tonight we have the Trailblazers. I'm sorry. Last night we had the Trailblazers taking on the Nuggets. Trailblazers won 97-90. Tonight's games, we got Raptors versus 76ers. So let's start right there with the Raptors 76ers. Series is tied 1-1 going back to Philly. Marcus, who do you got winning this game tonight, and who is going to be a big contributing factor?
I got Toronto winning this game tonight, and listen, Kawhi Leonard's been absolutely fabulous. He's averaging 40 points a game. This is the guy that, this is what we dreaded here in San Antonio, the guy we were going to lose. Is a guy that can carry a team to a championship and just needs a little bit of help. Obviously nobody can really carry a team anymore, but he, if there's anybody that can do it, Kawhi Leonard can do it with some help.
Right.
He gets help from Siakam, and really Lowry is every time is the key. If Lowry gets points and assists, Toronto, and then they get that from Siakam, little 25 here, 30 there, and then they get their usually 35, 40 from Kawhi Leonard. Toronto can beat anybody in the league. The key tonight, I think Toronto will win tonight's game, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Toronto, the pressure's on Toronto. Toronto's the second seed, and they've got 2 home games. They've got to win both these home games. I think it's very scary right now. If Philadelphia comes in here and Philadelphia is already 1-1, right?
Yeah.
So Philadelphia is already 1-1 in Toronto. So if Philadelphia does another 1-1, Philly's won. Made it 1-1 in Philly. Now if Philly goes 1-1 here in Toronto and it's 2-2. If it's 2-2, if they still win in Toronto, right? Where are they playing? They're playing Toronto, right? Or where are they playing? They're playing in Philly now.
Yeah, they're in Philly tonight.
They're in Philly now. Okay, so Philly did what they were supposed to do, make it 1-1.
Right.
If they do that again, that's what I'm trying to say. If Philly does that again and makes it 1-1, Toronto could be in trouble. I think Toronto needs to get these 2 games here and wrap this thing up. Embiid, and the reason I'm saying that, it's not that I'm saying that Philly is like chump change or anything like that. Philly's good. They have 4 excellent players, by the way. Maybe 4 max contract guys, to be honest. But while Embiid is hobbling, it just seems like a struggle with him.
Yeah.
He made the big shot the last game, but he hardly did any scoring at all. I think that was like his 12th point his last game. Man, this guy's got knee issues, stomach issues, back issues. I don't know if he's damaged goods, but I'm going to tell you right now, Embiid, if Embiid was 100%, I think Toronto would be in trouble. But the fact that he's not and he's having all these ailments happening to him, Toronto better get these games because there's a lot of rest in between these games, and Embiid can get a little bit healthy. He won't get fully healthy, obviously. But Toronto needs to get these 2 games, make it 3-1, and wrap this thing up in Toronto, really. You can't hang around with a team is dangerous. Jimmy Butler, Philadelphia is dangerous. Ben Simmons can ball, get up and down the court like a poor man's LeBron James. He didn't have the explosiveness LeBron has, but he's a heck of a player. Doesn't have the jump shot either like LeBron has, but he's kind of similar in that 6'9", where he's the point guard and he gets everybody involved and he can get up and down the court, But J.J. Redick shooting. J.J. Redick's been a little bit of a liability defensively here. But Tobias Harris, I love. Like I said, they have like 4 max guys on this team, so Philadelphia is not chump change, but Toronto's, I think, really has to get these games while Embiid is hobbling.
Yes.
Because if Embiid was healthy, this would be pretty dangerous for Toronto. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people were down on the Marc Gasol signing for Toronto. I was not at all. This is a perfect spot for Marc Gasol to shine versus Embiid.
Yes.
So this is why you got him for a guy for this series. You got Marc Gasol for this series so he can play defense on a hobbling Embiid, and he can do it. I'm waiting. I'm gonna throw. We throw these APBs out there. Lowry's always in that ABA. Where are you, Lowry? But another one, Serge Ibaka. I haven't seen the Serge Ibaka in the regular season that was good in the regular season that can get you 25 and 15. I haven't seen that guy show up in the playoffs yet.
Right.
So Toronto needs to really step it up. They should be really upset that Philly went in and made it 1-1. They got home court advantage. Now Toronto's got to get it back. I mean, they at least have to make this 1-1. I think they got to go up 2-0 to end this misery of Philadelphia. So this is going to be an interesting game tonight. And I'm interested to see. They haven't said anything when he had like that surgery appendectomy. OG Anunoby.
Mm-hmm.
They need him back. They're going to need him back for the finals of the Eastern Conference Finals. They need to get OG back. But I think Toronto wins tonight. Kawhi Leonard, big game. Serge Ibaka comes through with a big game. Marc Gasol's defense on Embiid, and Kyle Lowry has to show up.
Yep.
Ibaka's got to show up. Gasol defense, and Danny Green, he's always been a key too, as well as he plays good defense. But if he hits his threes, they win. So this is a good game. This is a really good game too. I love this series. Real competitive, but I think Toronto needs this game. I think they'll get this game tonight.
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought up Serge Ibaka's name, because I almost forgot he was even in this series, because I haven't, just because he has been disappearing on the court. He reminds me of James Harden. He has a great regular season, and then playoff times, where did he go? Where did he go?
Yeah.
Lowry is the same. Is the same way. I think he's had one good playoff game, and that was that 40-point game in Orlando, I believe it was 45 points in Orlando. Since then, we haven't heard a whole lot from him either. Right. I really think this is Toronto's series to win. Obviously, they are the higher seed. They are favored, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you have to realize the depth that the 76ers have. With Joel Embiid hobbled, he is still being fairly effective. But we are forgetting their key acquisition this offseason, Jimmy Butler. I think he's going to have a great game tonight. Second round game. I want to say this is the first second round game I thought in 3 years that he has been, maybe 4 years if I'm not mistaken. My notes are a little scribbled there. I was writing sloppy this morning apparently. But I definitely look for him to have a big game. His home crowd, in air quotes there. We all kind of think he is just there for the season and then going on to greener pastures per se. Right. So I think I anticipate him getting 35 plus points tonight, and definitely carrying the Philadelphia 76ers into a 2-1 lead and really putting Raptors' backs against the wall. Because if Raptors go down 2-1 or even 2-2, I think this is Philly's series to win hands down. If Philly wins one game at home, they got to be the favorite in this series.
Yeah, no, I agree with your Jimmy Butler thing there, because Jimmy Butler has to take this thing personally. Because think about this. Jimmy Butler plays great defense and he can score. Well, who does that remind you of? Kawhi Leonard. But right. Kawhi Leonard's in that first tier of great players. Jimmy Butler's in that second tier. If I'm Jimmy Butler, and I know he thinks like this, all this accolades going to Kawhi Leonard, you think, man, I can play just as good as defense him. I can score just as good as Kawhi Leonard. If Butler takes that personally and wants to match Kawhi Leonard defensive stop for defensive stop and point for point, I'm telling you, he has that talent to do that. And if he does that, let's just say there's some nights, Kawhi's been off the chain, but then Butler came back game 2 and was absolutely fabulous. Yes. If Butler keeps doing that and he kind of cancels Kawhi out, look out, Philly could win this series. I don't see that happening, but Jimmy Butler's right there with Kawhi Leonard, like I said, on that second tier. I'll tell you right now, the Spurs see what life is like without Kawhi Leonard. That defensive stopper every night, plus getting you buckets.
Right.
DeRozan did a good job on getting buckets and getting other people involved, but he's not the defensive player. I'm going to tell you right now, if Pop were to get his hands on Jimmy Butler in this offseason to replace Kawhi Leonard, Spurs would be first seed every year, for the next 3 years.
Right.
But, so that's how good Jimmy Butler is. And Pop would love that, to replace Kawhi Leonard with Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler takes this series personally, hears all this stuff about Kawhi Leonard, and comes to play tonight and the next night, Toronto could be in trouble. Jimmy Butler is a big-time key there.
Yeah, and Jimmy Butler is definitely playing for his future, like past this year. So, I mean, I'm not for sure how to say this live without saying he doesn't care if he wins or loses, but he's worried. He has to be more worried about his accolades than really the team's accolades. Like I think. But obviously, I think he's going to play hard and want to win a championship, etc. But at the end of the day, it's his back, that type of thing. So let's move forward here. We will not have a show Friday, guys, because the Kentucky Derby here is in town, and that's where I will be. My first ever Kentucky Derby. This state has literally been shut down for 3 weeks with Derby stuff, and if you guys ever get a chance, you definitely need to come up and experience it. But a couple games that's happening on Friday. First game we're going to talk about here is Bucks versus Celtics. That series is tied. It's 1-1 going back to Boston. Danny Ainge, the Celtics president, did suffer a mild heart attack on Tuesday after the game. There has been reports that he is doing fine. He's just in the hospital getting some final tests and just trying to rest him and prepare himself to come home. But Celtics Bucks, another great series that is happening. Marcus, what are your thoughts on this Game 3 out there at Boston?
Well, look, Milwaukee did a really good job defensively. They tightened things up. I think Kyrie was like 4 of 18 from the field, if I remember correctly.
Sounds right.
What was disappointing about the Celtics is Kyrie goes 4 of 18, and then you expect like the Tatums and the Browns of the world and Haywards to go, okay,
somebody
Kyrie.
Step up.
Yeah, and Rozier, somebody, Morris, you know what I mean? It didn't really happen. Boston kind of played that second half like we already got our victory, and that happens to some teams. I mean, it just does. But Boston did what they were supposed to do. They went in there and they got the split. It's 1-1. The Bucks did what they had to do in terms of after being down 0-1, you could not let the Celtics go up 2-0 or this would be a short series. So Bucks did what they had to do to win Game 2. Man, this is a really tough one to call because, I mean, if both teams come to play, and it's in Boston, I give the edge to the Celtics. I mean, they've got more explosive players in the 6'7", 6'9" range that can do a multitude of things. But Milwaukee has a really good system in place by Coach Bud, and if they play their game, if they come to play, and the others like the Bledsoe and Ilyasovas are hitting shots, and Connaughton, if they're hitting shots, Middleton has been great. Middleton was fabulous in Game 2. He's an all-star as well. He's not a superstar, Chris Middleton, but he's an all-star, kind of like Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris, not a superstar, but he's like an all-star. So Chris Middleton's in that mold too. I give you what, this is so evenly matched. I mean, this is one of those where, okay, you have two great players on opposing sides, the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then you have Kyrie Irving. Whichever one of those guys decides to take over the game in the fourth quarter is going to win. I kind of lean more towards Kyrie Irving because Kyrie had a bad game, and to follow that up with another bad game, I think Kyrie's a winner. So I think the Celtics get Game 3. It's a real pivotal game to go up 2-1. I did predict the Bucks in 7 here, but that's because I thought everybody would hold serve on their home court. That didn't happen.
Right.
So, I mean, the Celtics are a little scary here. They've got the depth and they've got the talent. Jason Tatum's got to show up. I mean, these guys are playing for their futures here. Boston has so much talent that there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to leave the Celtics and go be a star somewhere else and go try to elevate that team. We'll see who leaves the Celtics in the offseason. Plus, Celtics have 3 first-round picks. I mean, how does that equate into all this talent? That's amazing what Ainge has created there.
Yeah.
Hope he has a full recovery with his mild heart attack there. But Ainge has built this thing to where he's got a lot of flexibility, a lot of good players. Rozier behind Kyrie Irving. I'm going on something else, though. Rozier could have his own team. Rozier is that good, the backup to Kyrie Irving. He is that good. He's that special. They've got a multitude of talent there with the Celtics. I think they'll get Game 3 because Kyrie will not go 4 of 18 again. Kyrie takes that personally. He'll take over the game. It'll be close. The Greek Freak will do what he has to do. But I think Kyrie in the last couple minutes will take over the game, and they'll beat the Bucks. And then Celtics will go up 2-1. Then pressure kind of shifts because they were the number 1 seed. The pressure then kind of shifts to the Bucks there because
have to win Game 4.
Well, yeah, they have to win Game 4. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on it because they lose Game 4, it's over.
Right.
So we'll see what happens here, but I think Kyrie will win the game in the end, doing like an Allen Iverson impersonation. Maybe struggles through the first 3 quarters, and then Kyrie will turn it on, go 5 for 5 in the fourth, 5 for 6, whatever. And Kyrie won't. He had a 4 of 18. That's another thing about these playoffs. It's so long in between games. There's hardly any quick games. There's hardly any turnaround. Sometimes there's 2 games. There's 2 days in between games.
Right.
Kyrie right now is stewing on this.
Yeah.
The 4 of 18, he's going to come back and he'll have a big game, and I expect him to, and I see the Celtics winning a close one with Kyrie.
Yeah, and I love your Kyrie Irving thing here. That's exactly what I had down here. He is so eager to prove that he can win a championship by himself, like without a shadow of LeBron James or anybody in that matter. Kyrie wants to be man on this team. He wants to lead this team to a win over the Raptors, a win over the Bucks, and then possibly a win over the Raptors in the next round as well, and definitely lead them to a championship, series versus Golden State. And if Celtics were to upset Golden State, Kyrie Irving would probably be the most hottest free agent out there. This next year, hands down. And real quick, we haven't got anything on Michael Brogdon, the starting point guard for starting 2-guard point guard, because I know Bledsoe's there. The starting guard for the Bucks. I don't know if he's going to come back and play for Game 3. That would be absolutely huge because he's a guy that can make life difficult for Kyrie Irving. And the Bucks haven't had him the first 2 games, and it showed in Game 1. But he would be a major factor getting Michael Brogdon back. For the Bucks, I haven't heard. I thought he was going to come back for Games 3 and 4, but we'll see. Yeah, as of right now, it is Thursday afternoon. The game's not till Friday night. He is listed as out, but we've seen crazy things. Like Terrell Owens coming back from a broken leg in 3 weeks. So things that he could be 100% come Friday. I just afternoon. But definitely another player to watch on Friday night is got to be Al Horford. I really think he is going to give the Celtics a little bit of a grungy side to them in Game 3 and kind of dominate the boards versus the Greek Freak there, and just kind of just bang him around a tad bit. If they end up going head to head, I definitely think Al Horford is going to take as much advantage of him as possible. They don't play the same position, one's a 4 and Al Horford is a 5, but they did match up. What was it? 20 times down the court in Game 2. So I would be interested to see if the Celtics make that adjustment to put Al Horford on him just to wear the Jonas out. Al Horford's almost the perfect player in terms of playing the Greek Freak. I mean, Al Horford's a hell of a defender, and then he can switch on anybody. The guy can block your shot at the rim. He plays hard-nosed defense. You're not scared if all of a sudden he's guarding Tatum. If all of a sudden he's guarding Middleton, or even Bledsoe. You're not. Al Horford's a great player. The guy's fabulous. There's a reason that he's won a lot. There's a reason when he was at Florida, they won 2 national championships. Yeah. Al Horford is a jack of all trades. And then what he does is not only is he a great defensive player, he can make threes. He can hit 20-footers. Right.
So it's not like he's one of those old traditional centers that has to stay in the post like a DeAndre, or like a DeAndre Jordan or Andre Drummond, that become a liability in the playoffs when everybody's got to be able to shoot. Al Horford can shoot. So Al Horford's a hell of a player, man. He's perfect for this Celtics team.
Yeah, and
I know right now Danny Ainge is wishing Al Horford was 25 years old and not 30-something years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. The Giannis has 9 shots against Al versus Al Horford, and Al Horford has blocked 4 of those 9 shots. So
Wow.
just
Yeah. So yeah.
crazy stat there.
All right.
So one more game happening that Friday night is you do have the Nuggets versus the Trailblazers. That series is tied 1-1 as well. Going back to Portland, the city that never has sunshine or something like that. But this game is kind of intriguing as well. Denver, this is their first time here in the second round in this situation, but we saw them grow up against the Spurs. Maybe see them grow up against the Portland Trailblazers even more. But who do you got winning this game and some players to watch?
I was actually shocked at last night's game, how poorly Denver shot from the field at home. You expect that on the road. But, man, they're carrying this. They shot some poorly against the Spurs, and Spurs defense was okay. But I'm just like, they didn't get anything from anybody. Jokic was okay, and it was just a struggle on shooting the basketball. I don't know what happened there, and that really is going to hurt them because they should be up. They should go up 2-0. Now they're not. Now they go back to Portland. Damian Lillard is gonna, he struggled a little bit last night too in Denver. You think he's gonna struggle in Portland? I don't think so. This is really. I picked Denver to win this thing in 7, but they better get home court back. I don't think they're going to get it back game 3. I think Portland win game 3, and I think Denver will win game 4, and then we'll see what happens. But and C.J. McCollum was absolutely fabulous last night. He kind of picked up for Damian Lillard not shooting the ball well. And Jamal Murray's injury, actually, that was huge because Jamal Murray couldn't even move in the fourth quarter. It was amazing. Yeah, he was struggling. So the Jamal Murray injury moving forward is a huge factor in games 3 and 4. We'll see how well his treatment, his leg responds to the treatment there. So I see Portland winning game 3. Portland, we've talked about them. They're almost a perfect team. Everybody knows their roles. They have 2 all-stars, and then they have their others that everybody knows. Enes Kanter's fabulous down there, playing that kind of like LaMarcus Aldridge role for Damian Lillard a few years ago. Enes Kanter was a great pickup because offensively he's fabulous. Everybody knows their roles in Portland. I thought Denver – I was just picking Denver in 7 just based on home court, that everybody win their home court games. But Denver shocked me last night by not shooting the ball well. Denver's in trouble obviously. Denver's in trouble if they go down if they go down 3-1 and Portland gets these 2 games. I think Denver will bounce back and shoot the ball well in one of these road games. I think it's going to be game 4, but we'll see. It could be game 3. But Denver won't go out like that. But the Jamal Murray injury is pretty key there for Denver. They can't lose Jamal Murray. If Jamal Murray doesn't play or he's hobbling, this might end really quickly.
Right.
And I think Portland gets game 3.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. I think Portland does get game 3 because of that Murray injury, and this is where the playoffs kind of take its toll. This Portland-Denver series is one of the only series that does play every other night. So take, for example, this Houston Golden State game. James Harden says he has a quad or a knee injury. They have 3 nights off. So if Murray were to get that extra night off, I think he would be able to come back for game 3. But with that being said, I don't think he is going to be ready for game 3. If he is ready, he will only be 70 to 80% tops. And then they turn around and they play Sunday night as well. So game 4, he should be healthy, depending on what happens in game 3 if he happens to get injured again. But with just the Murray injury alone, I got to go with Portland on this one.
Yeah.
And they're at home. And there's, to be honest, those Portland fans are still hyped from that game-winning shot versus Oklahoma. That was your last home game. Obviously this is their first home game back. So there's still that buzz of the crowd, and home court in the playoffs matters a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's why I'm picking Portland in this one 100%.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Home court should, man. Denver really. If Denver loses this series, they're going to look back just like the Spurs on a game 2. Spurs should have won this series if they didn't give up a 19-point lead in game 2.
Right.
Denver will look back right now, as it stands right now. If they lose this thing in 5 or 6 and Jamal Murray's hurt, they'll look back on this game 2 and why they didn't win this series because they shot so poorly from the 3-point line. I think every time Jokic threw the ball out to a 3-point shooter, they choked. I mean, it didn't go in. So Jokic could have had 20 assists, but every time he threw it out to a fellow teammate there, they blew it. They missed their 3-pointers. And I was very surprised at that. At home, missing your shots. So they'll look back on this. If they lose this series, Denver will look back on this game 2 and say they blew it, just like the Spurs did.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to circle that game 2, just saying if we would have shot 5% better, hit 3 or 4 more shots, it could have been a whole different series.
Because Portland didn't score that many points either. Damian Lillard wasn't cooking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that game was there for the taking. Portland kind of won like a methodical game. Mm-hmm. Like, it was kind of boring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
This was the lowest scoring playoff game this year.
Yeah, I think the stat line was on when Jokic was in the post, he threw it out to a Denver Nugget for a 3, and they were 1 for 12.
Ouch.
Okay, so basically, if they go 4 for 12, this game comes down to the wire. If they go 6 for 12 or 5 for 12, they win the game. So they're going to look back on that and see how poorly they shot at home, and that's where they would have lost the series.
Right. I have to agree with you there. I have to concur of what you said there, Marcus. So the final game 3 is happening Saturday. They get a nice long vacation. Warriors versus Rockets. Warriors are obviously up 2-0 in the series. Like I referred to a little bit earlier, James Harden is complaining of a quad/knee injury. Also complaining about the rest, but that is a story for a different day, I guess. But it is what it is. Game 3 at Houston, Golden State versus Rockets. Players to watch. Who do you got?
Yeah, and also I think James Harden's battling an eye issue, and from what I've heard from that people that have had the same kind of eye issue where you get your eye scratched,
right?
That it does take a couple of days to recover. Like, and he may not even be shooting today. He's trying to shoot today, but it still hurts. It's a little blurry. So that can be a major effect. But the good news is, like you said, it's like a vacation practically. They get 3 days off there. So hopefully Harden will be 100%. The bottom line on this series, we talked about this many times. I mean, Houston just does not have enough for the Warriors. The Warriors are just that good. Clint Capella is almost a non-factor in this series. He was terrible in game 1, non-factor. Game 2, he comes back a little bit. But he's a liability. When they have the ball on offense. If they're not doing pick and rolls and having him roll to the basket, getting dunks, and if that's not successful, he is a complete liability out there. Rockets might even have to change up and take out Clint Capella. So you know what I mean? They got to get 5 guys in there that can actually shoot the ball and create.
Right.
So that's also a possibility for the Rockets. So. We'll see what happens there. I mean, and Durant's just off the charts. Curry, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson can hang around for a few games and then decide to turn it on, and he's great. And
probably game
Draymond, probably game. And then James, and then Draymond Green. For whatever happened in the regular season, they weren't motivated. Everything was happening. They got in fights with Kevin Durant and all that. All that they put all that aside for these moments right here. I mean, I think one of the best things Kevin Durant's ever said. He's a big baby, but one of the best things he ever said was, they put this is the moment right here. This is why, the struggle to get through the 82 game grind and to get to these moments right here. And then Golden State knows how to turn it off and on better than any team I've ever seen in NBA history. And they're making life very difficult for James Harden. James Harden's having a hard time. Yeah. This D'Antoni system, I mean, it's basically it's James Harden, and it's a lot of ISO and everybody standing around, and Golden State can defend that. I mean, hey, your local Indiana 5A state basketball team state champs can defend that.
100%.
I'm not even joking. Yeah, no, I'm serious. I'm not even joking. That you can defend that without that big of an issue. If it's just a bunch of ISO ball hard and they come down, nobody's really cutting or moving like for the Rockets, and Harden's jacking up shots. I mean, I see a high school basketball player could do like Ricky Rubio and just stand there. Yeah. He makes it, he makes it. He misses, he misses. Houston's got to get more people involved. Chris Paul hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great either. It's like, it's like his prime has passed already, and
he's on a down climb.
Yeah, he had a shot. They were down 6 with about 27 seconds left, or about 20 seconds left, and Chris Paul had a wide open 3. And while it was in the air, I said, "Wow, if that goes in, that cuts to 3. The score's cut to 3, and hurry up and foul, make this hurry." And then, of course, he missed it. Yeah. And he just hasn't had a great series. PJ Tucker's trying his best out there, and the key for me has always been with the Rockets is We know what Chris Paul is, 18 points, 10 assists. But we need in order to beat the Warriors, we need 28 points from Chris Paul.
You're right.
He's not giving you that. The old Chris Paul might have given you 28 points. So we know what, but this Chris Paul is going to give you 18 points, 10 assists, and that's good, but that's not good enough to beat that Warriors team. It's just not.
You're right.
The key to the Rockets has been Eric Gordon. If Eric Gordon can match Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, get like a 35-point game in there, Rockets can win. The Rockets will not win a game unless Eric Gordon, Chris Paul, and James Harden combine for 90 points.
Oh.
Like, that's how great they have to play. They have to go above and beyond to beat this great Warriors team. And I don't know if that's in them. I don't think that's in Chris Paul anymore. Chris Paul's 30-point games are long gone. So I just the talent gap there is just not good. And the Warriors should take care of them. Put them out of their misery this coming up games 3 and 4. Now, it could be a point. The Rockets are great shooters, right? So might be one game where they're hitting all their threes and Golden State's missing, and that'll be the one game Houston wins.
Right.
But as far as matchups are concerned and pace and everything like that, Warriors have it all. Better players. Warriors should probably take game 3 as well. But the Rockets are desperate. So a desperate team sometimes play a little bit better than the team that's already up 2-0. So that'll be interesting to see how desperate the Warriors are. But I still see the Warriors' talent just overcoming the Rockets and their desperation. I see the Warriors taking this 3-0.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I couldn't agree more with you on everything that you said. The Rockets they're a great regular season team, but it is a different animal when you make it to playoff basketball. You don't get the same calls that you know that you get. That has been shown. James Harden isn't making it to the foul line 15 to 20 times a game. Players play harder. They play a full 48 minutes unless you're Golden State and you play about 28 minutes and you call it a day. But let me throw some stats out at you here. James Harden has taken one mid-range shot this whole series. He's taken one mid-range shot and he's missed that shot. The Rockets as a team have made 1 out of 12 mid-range shots. Okay? Andre Iguodala, or AI for the Warriors, has taken 27 mid-range shots in this series. Wrap your head around.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll wrap my head around that. That's an amazing stat you just brought up, and that's a non-winning stat. You're not going to win. You're not going to beat the Warriors by James Harden taking one mid-range jumper. I mean, he's got to get into the lane and create and make some 15-footers. Do a Ray Allen.
Right.
It can't be just 3-pointer or bust.
Yeah. People always say that a 3 is better than a 2, but a 2 is better than 0. So. Yeah. When you aren't hitting threes, you have to be able to make a mid-range layup 2-point shot. There are 5 ways to score. You have you have a dunk, you have a mid-range shot, a 3-point shot, fast break point, or a layup. And when you're only doing 2 of those 5 versus a team like Golden State, you cannot compete, let alone win.
Yeah, it's like a swing for the fences. Harden's either scoring at the free throw line or a 3-pointer. It's like in Major League Baseball. They either hit the home run, strike out. You know what I mean? Like Texas Rangers, Gallo is the perfect example of that. The guy hits a home run or he strikes out. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean,
it's go big or go home, right?
Yeah. It's just the thing. If I was running the Rockets, I would call D'Antoni and I'd tell him to make a lineup change. I'd get Capella out of there. I'm sorry. Listen, Capella's a really good player, paying him a lot of money, like $85 million over the next 4 or 5 years.
Stupid money.
But against the Warriors, this does not work. If somehow the Rockets beat the Warriors, Capella would be great against Nurkic. He would be great against in the Eastern Conference Final against Gasol and Ibaka. But he would have been great against Nurkic, Capella, if Portland gets by there. But Capella's a non-factor here. I would move Gerald Green in the starting lineup. 6'8", can shoot threes, can take people off the dribble.
Yes.
I'd have P.J. Tucker start at the 5 position, and I would change the lineup. And Iman Shumpert is another key here for the Rockets. He's a really good defender, and he can hit open threes. Players like Gerald Green and Iman Shumpert, if they don't play defense and make threes, the Rockets are going to get swept. Because Harden, and then Chris Paul, we need him to get 30.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the Rockets, and I'm just trying to figure out how to beat the Warriors. And you need everybody to play great. But if I was D'Antoni, I would change the lineup, and I would put in Gerald Green, and I would take out Clint Capella.
Yeah, or maybe put this on for some size. Take the ball out of James Harden's hands. Make the focal point Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a point guard and he gets everybody involved. So if Chris Paul is able to get other guys going just besides James Harden, that could definitely spark the team a little bit, because right now, if watching the Rockets is the most boringest thing ever. James Harden 3, James Harden pick and roll. That's their offense. So I mean,
and everybody just standing around. It's just kind of ridiculous.
It is very boring. It is almost watching a fourth grade basketball team with one great player on it. Like, here's the ball. Go. It's
like watching a 5A high school team with one great running back.
Right.
And you can win sometimes that way. You can't win with one great running back in college or the NFL. You need other people to help out. But in high school football, you have one great. You have Cedric Benson or Tevin Coleman, or just name any great running back.
Right.
No, you'll win your high school games. But it doesn't work like that in the NBA. You have got to. Everybody's got to play hard, and especially when you're going up against a team like the Warriors, everybody's got to step up their game, and everybody's got to make shots. I just don't see. Like I said, there might be one game where the Rockets, they hit all their threes and Warriors are cold. Okay, that's the one game they win, but that will only happen one game.
And even then, I still might give the advantage on Warriors on that, just because the Rockets can hit their record 28 three points in a game, but the Warriors can match that. They can do the same exact thing. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just, and
I don't understand D'Antoni keeping Clint Capella in there for so long. I mean, you see what the Warriors are doing. That lineup of depth at Hampton 5.
Yeah.
They don't have a center in there. Nope. So why do you have a center in there?
And Cousins is hurt. So I don't think they even have a center on the roster actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bogut's not going to play against the. I mean, the next time you see Bogut, might be against if it's Denver. You might see Bogut in there against Jokic.
Yeah.
You probably won't see Bogut in there too much against Portland either. And then say they get to the finals, if they play the Celtics, you're not going to see Bogut. What's he doing in there against the Celtics? Nothing. So it's a matchup thing.
Yeah.
And so the Golden State with that Hampton 5. Now D'Antoni's got to match it and put in Gerald Green in the starting lineup.
You're right. Marcus, you have a wealth of knowledge, and pretty much anything that I have wrote down, you normally say as well. So we're on the same page, man. But guys, we are going to take a quick break here. After this break, we got to talk NFL. Tyreek Hill, what's going on there, and of course Dallas Cowboys, because Cowboys are our nation.
America's team.
America's team.
There you go.
There we go. All right, guys, we'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the Marcus and Mike Show. I am Mike. My man over here to the left is Marcus. Follow us on Twitter at Marcus the Freak, and then myself at mbuck41. If you guys are new here to the YouTube channel, consider subscribing. We'll be doing 5 days a week here, starting on Monday again in the afternoons. Time is a little up in air right now, but more than likely 2:30 Eastern time is when the video will go live here for you guys. If you're listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, etc., consider subscribing to that podcast, following it, giving a ranking, share it with a couple friends here for a few more days. 3 more days, if you leave a ranking on the iTunes page, you have a chance to win $100. So, I mean, Marcus, you use an easy $100, right?
Oh, absolutely. Shit, so, I'll take it now.
It's easy money. So, let's start with my Kansas City Chiefs here. Tyreek Hill. For of you guys that don't know what's happening, let's give a little backstory here. Last season, he was being investigated with child abuse like last October or November or something right around there, right toward the end of the season. The district attorney says there's not enough evidence. They wiped the case clean. Last week, a tape came out of him saying that, yes, he punches his child, spanks him, basically being a parent in like in my eyes. But he denies breaking the kid's arm. So basically what has happened here in the last 48 hours is his lawyers of Tyreek Hill wrote a 4 to 6 page letter to the NFL asking them not to put him on the exempt list. Basically what the exempt list is, basically saying that you can't do any football related activities. You are not suspended officially, but you cannot practice, you cannot be even at the team's facility. So Marcus, if the Chiefs were to lose Tyreek Hill like they lost Hunt last year, do you think the Chiefs they're not even going to be any good this next year? Or, like, do they even have a chance of winning that division, making the playoffs? Like, is Tyreek Hill that big a deal for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, no, he's a big deal. I mean, he's a dynamic player. A player that we haven't seen too much in the NFL. I mean, he is that dominant. I mean, he scored on the Cowboys on a play that should have never been scored. But the fact that he's so great and Dallas was out of position, it was like that play before the half. You remember that? Yep. He just threw a little dump pass. I mean, it was a Hail Mary dump pass. Never seen that before in the NFL. and it took Tyreek Hill to accomplish that feat. I'll go back to what you said a little bit, though. Not that I disagree, but we don't know all the – spanking your kids is fine. I don't have no problem with that, even with the belt, whatever you do. Now, when he's punching his kid, I mean, that sounds excessive. That sounds like a person that probably needs to help or some counseling or something. But we don't know that for a fact yet. I mean, we have to see all the facts here. It's one person saying that. We don't know what's going on with that situation. Maybe they're over there in Kansas City, their Child Protective Services know better than we do about what's happening there. I'm not sure what's going on there. But I think Tyreek Hill came out with a rebuttal today, too, as well. I have not got a chance to read that. He's defending himself like in a 6-page story. I need to read that.
Right.
I'll probably read that tonight when I have time. But Kansas City the Chiefs organization has to be careful here because I think they made a bad decision on Kareem Hunt. Okay?
We saw the video. Soon.
Yes, absolutely. They reacted too soon. And that's the way everybody's scared now. Actually, it's weird because I hear all these experts. I heard from Chris Canty to, Chris Canty, former Cowboy and Giant, and just all these. I mean, I can't remember who else saying, "Oh, cut him immediately." Well, Chris, man, we don't know all the facts yet, man. We're not going to cut anybody yet. We'll put him on the suspension list or whatever exempt list. Well, let's get everything in order. I'm not just going to believe one person's phone call. Let's do all the due diligence and figure it out because we don't want Kansas City Chiefs to make the same mistake they did with Kareem Hunt by giving up on Kareem Hunt too early.
Right.
Kareem Hunt in that video with that woman, it was bad, okay? But the NFL gave him a suspension. He served the suspension, and he's going to be eligible to play with the Cleveland Browns week 9 or it's going to be week 10, and he's going to have 8 games with the Cleveland Browns, who I think the Cleveland Browns are on their way to winning that division. That's another discussion that we'll have. But Kansas City should have just held on to Kareem Hunt, said, hey, what you did with that woman was terrible. Nobody's condoning that. You sit down, sit out. We'll wait for the NFL and their ruling. It comes down. If it's the season, hey, Kareem, we'll stand by you. But if it's a season, then you're out the whole season, okay? If it's 4 games, I would be shocking to me if it was 4 games. We'll stand by you, whatever the NFL says. The NFL is like God in these situations now, okay? So, but the NFL came down with 8 games, and then Kansas City releases him, and they have no Kareem Hunt now. And now the Browns have him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you right now, if Kansas City Chiefs make that same mistake with Tyreek Hill, right, and they say, we're releasing him. They do what Chris Canty says, right, and they release him. And then the NFL comes down and says, he's suspended for 12 games. Well, guess what? The Green Bay Packers are going to sign Tyreek Hill, have him for the month of December and the playoffs, and then Aaron Rodgers will be back in the NFC Championship game because he got the most explosive. So let's just wait here. The Chiefs organization doesn't want to do the wrong thing again. Let's wait here. Where nobody's condoning what Tyreek Hill did or allegedly did, but let's just wait and get all the facts and figures. And let's wait to see what the NFL says. and then we'll go from there, and we'll figure out if he's suspended for 6 games, 8 games, 12 games a season. Then he'll just miss the entire 2019-20 season. He'll still be in our program for the 2020-21 season. It'll be like getting a new first-round draft pick again.
Right.
So you just keep, I don't want to give up on the guy unless he's like killing people or something. I don't condone, hitting children, punching children. Children to me are our most precious thing. He needs counseling. He needs help. I'm not just going to throw him away. He hasn't killed anybody with an axe, I don't believe. He hasn't raped a bunch of females or raped a female. So I don't want to give up on the player just like they did Kareem Hunt. Kansas City's, I think, doing the right thing, and they're not listening to all that outside noise. Chris Canty and Stephen A. Smith saying, get rid of him.
Yeah.
They're not listening to all that outside noise, and they're keeping him to figure out what's going to happen from here. Don't just get rid of somebody at the first sign of they did something terrible, unless it's like egregious, like, like he killed somebody or something, something crazy, or it's proved that he raped somebody. Okay, then he's gone. Okay, but that's not the case here. Let's wait and see what happens, and then see what the NFL says, and then we'll figure it out from there. Don't release him. Don't do the same mistake you did with Kareem Hunt. Now the Cleveland Browns are going to have this dynamic player Week 9, and they're smiling all the way to a division championship because they're going to get Kareem Hunt in Week 9 or 10.
They got a first-round draft pick for the league minimum, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So let's just wait for all the facts to come in, and then with Tyreek Hill, then we'll figure it out if he's going to be suspended. Kansas City, do exactly what you're doing. Just wait and hear it. Let's hear everything out.
So, this has been playing in my head here. So, for the last 5 or 6 years, I don't know what is going on in Kansas City. I don't know what's going on in my whole town. But the Chiefs organization has had, I don't know if it's a mental issue or what, but 5 years ago, I think, we had a defensive player killed his kid, killed his wife, and then he committed suicide on the stadium grounds. Ever since then, I don't know if there's been some type of bad juju happening or like what, but every year since then, there has been something happening with some players. Before the last couple years, they've been kind of second, third string players. So they just basically cut the cord. Hey, you were gone, and it doesn't make the news. But the last couple years, or like the last 2 players, they've been big name players, so they really have made the news. So this has been happening in Kansas City for the last 5 or 6 years. It's just we haven't heard about it because they haven't been big name players. So I just wanted to get that out there. I don't know if people are needing a culture shock. Is it Andy Reid, the coach? Is it the ownership, or is it just Kansas City? They need to bring, because like during the playoffs last year, they brought in a exorcist person to bless the stadium because we haven't won a home playoff stadium in 20 plus years, and then we won a game, which is awesome. But now they need to go to that parking lot. And it's just like, I mean, I don't want to make fun of a bad situation that happened, but it's just weird. But ever since that point, that every year something like this has happened in the offseason in the Kansas City Chiefs organization. Now, with all that being said, let me kind of poke fun at Stephen A. Smith and Chris Canty and whoever else is saying cut the guy. Okay, these are the same people that say cut the guy, but then they applaud the Browns for making a great pickup in Hunt, or say they cut Tyreek Hill and the Packers pick him up. These are going to be the same guys that say, "Oh, that's a great pickup. Good job, Packers. You guys made the best pickup ever." Yada yada yada.
Yeah,
but yet I'm gonna cut them. Like what? You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Michael, you're 100% correct. I'm gonna let you finish, but let me jump in there real quick. They're some of the same guys that are saying that will say, Tyreek Hill paid his dues. He was suspended for 8 games or 12 games. Yeah. He paid his dues. Now he can re-sign with anybody. What?
Yeah, just like the whole Ezekiel Elliott thing a couple years ago. These same guys are saying cut him. He's a cancer. He's a hazard. But then now, he's the greatest tailback ever. The Cowboys made a great choice of not cutting him or like suspending him. Like, I mean, like sometimes I think they just say these things just to get the people excited. Like, oh, maybe he's right, you know, and then and then everybody starts chirping like, oh, maybe they're right, and then all of a sudden he's like he's cut because there's pressure from upstairs, you know, like upstairs meaning like the media and fan base and whatnot. Just like
yeah, I was just surprised to hear like a Chris Canty, who like at Virginia had a bar fight and he got cut with glass and he fought some people and he got into trouble there. What if Virginia just gave up on him?
Right.
They didn't.
Well, hey, you got in a bar fight. You were given a bad image for our school. Yeah. See you later. He would have never met the NFL, right?
Right. So yeah, I was just surprised to hear all these people just say release him. I know it's child endangerment and all that stuff, and I get all that stuff, but let's figure everything out. It was said by one person,
right,
that was trying to bait him into saying something in a phone call. So I don't want to overreact to that yet. You know what I mean? But that's the way we're overreact. You know,
ever since the Ray Rice issue, the NFL as a whole, anytime something happens against child or like a female, it is instantly cut the guy, get him out of the
Well,
NFL.
the NFL looked really bad on that Ray Rice issue because they saw the video, and then they only gave him 4 games,
right?
And then they thought, oh, that'll never get out. But that's stupid. The NFL should have been transparent. They should have shown the video and then suspended Ray Rice for like a year, then reinstated him the next year. Instead, they gave him a little slap on the wrist of 4 games, and the whole country went in uproar. 4 games for hitting a woman, 6 games. You got 6. You would do something not even as bad as that and get 6 games. So hitting a woman got 4 games. I can see why everybody got upset.
Right.
So then the NFL had to scramble and be like, "Oh my God, we're just going to suspend him indefinitely." They should have shown the video and said he's suspended for a year, and so somebody can re-sign him the following year. Ray Rice ran into the trouble of, you know, he wasn't 24 years old. He was already near 30, and so he's a running back, so nobody wanted him again.
You're right.
So the NFL had egg on their face and is trying to cover up.
Well, and just to add to that point there, just like this whole Tyreek issue, you know, people are making a uproar about it, so the NFL is going to please the fans because they don't want to lose sponsorships. They don't want to lose fans coming to the games. They don't want to lose TV deals. So at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill could be totally innocent, and this case has been shut down by the DA twice, not once but twice. But the NFL is still wanting to put them on the exempt list. The media members, Stephen A. Smith, Chris Canty, still wanting him kicked off or cut from team. So like what do you want? Like the DA, the government, the federal agencies saying, hey, there's not enough evidence here, and they know more than we do. They know more than they do. So what are we not seeing here? Like, what are we overlooking? Like, is Stephen A. and Chris Canty just trying to please the crowd to gain more fans? I don't know. It's
if everything stays the same and there's no video of him beating a child and it's not been proven that he did what his fiance or now wife says, and it's basically a he say she say, and they have to work together to get their child back. I think CPS, Child Protective Services, has custody of their child right now. They have to go through steps to get their child back. The NFL might suspend him 4 games. I don't see anything more than a 4-game right now with our evidence. And then I got to read this 6-page story that Tyreek Hill wrote today, and then to hear his side of it, because we really haven't heard. All we're doing is jumping to conclusions. The Chris Canty and Stephen A. Smith off of one audio tape. There's no audio tape of him beating a child. Hey, you know what? If you really wanted to spill the beans on him, you should have videotaped that. Right. If he really was doing that harm to your child. Also, from the woman's point of view, they in Child Protective Services and the way the law works, they don't really care about this woman's point of view. Let me tell you what, the only thing they care about is the child. And if Tyreek Hill is that much of a monster, and she went and kept putting him back into harm's way, and she kept on going back to him,
right?
And she's going to be just as much at fault
That's a great point.
As Tyreek Hill is. So listen, we're talking all about we don't know enough yet. Let's read what Tyreek Hill says. Let's see what's going on. But right now, I don't see any more than a 4-game suspension, if anything at all. We'll see if more news comes to the light. And to re-answer your question, let's go back to the football side of it. The first question you asked me is, Kansas City going to suffer? I will say yes, because Tyreek Hill is a dynamic player. But I'm going to tell you right now, Mahomes is a dynamic talent. They got a great tight end, good offensive line, and they drafted McCall Hardman from Georgia, who, man, he was almost like a clone of Tyreek Hill. He's not as compact and as strong as Tyreek Hill. That'll come in time. But as speed-wise, I'd like to see him and Tyreek Hill in a race. And I would not be shocked if McCall Hardman beat Tyreek Hill in a 100-meter dash right now.
Get that trash out of your mouth. The cheetah's fast. Cheetah can't be beat. But just to add to your point about jumping to conclusions here, was it 3 years ago, the Adrian Peterson thing, when he was back home in Oklahoma, and the media jumped on him for child abuse when he was spanking his son, they were screaming him for being cut from the NFL, suspended, all that. He was spanking his son. He was disciplining his son. So don't jump to conclusions.
No, Michael, and I understand you on that one, but Adrian Peterson, there was actually more evidence than Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Like, there was more evidence. There was more witnesses of him whipping him with the tree branch or tree thing, getting a switch.
Referred to it as a switch,
the only thing I didn't like about the AP situation is he was hitting his son in his scrotum area. Yeah. That came out, and and a lot of witnesses have said that. And dude, you could hurt your son for having kids in the future to being granddad.
Right. Dude,
I think AP took it too far from witnesses and all that stuff like that. So I was way more mad at Adrian Peterson than I am at Tyreek Hill right now. Adrian Peterson, it's a little bit worse. We did a little bit more than Tyreek Hill, and Adrian Peterson still came back and played.
Yeah.
So Kansas City should not give up on Tyreek Hill.
Well, and just to add to your point here, I've had experience with child protective services. My oldest daughter fell off her top bunk, broke her arm, and we took her to the hospital. And the hospital called child protective services on us because it was an arm break and the way it was, or I'm not 100% sure why they called him, but these people are thorough. They took my daughter into a room and they basically made her cry, basically trying to make her tell them that I hurt her, and she's like, I fell off my bed. So
that's terrible.
Yeah, so
terrible.
They definitely done their due diligence not to press any charges in one way or the other. So
yeah,
it is what it is. So let's take another quick break here, Marcus, and then we're going to talk Dallas Cowboys, America's team, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, all the boys. So we'll be right back.
Daddy.
Come on. Oh, yeah. Thanks, baby. Okay, you gotta come back. I gotta get back on here. Okay? See you in the walk, okay? Okay. 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 All right.
Can you kiss me?
Okay, no, in a minute, baby. Okay, go. Okay, thank you, baby. Go ahead.
And welcome back to the Marcus and Mike show. As everybody's getting home from school, my wife just showed up outside. Marcus's little girl is here. It's a party. It's a party.
As you can see, I'm hurting her very badly.
Yeah. Hey, you might be lucky. You got a kiss here. But let's talk the Dallas Cowboys here real fast here. Just quickly touch on it here. Some contracts are starting to come due, and people got to get paid. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper.
It's a good problem to have too.
Right. So, if you were in the GM's position right here, who would be your number one target here? Who do you got to get paid first?
Well, let's take them like this. Amari Cooper and Dak's contract run out at the same time. We're gonna have to pay them. Dallas is gonna have to pay them simultaneously. Mm-hmm. I'd make Amari Cooper one of the highest paid receivers in the league. To me, he reminds me of Jerry Rice. He's not Julio Jones in terms of the size, but he's not like Antonio Brown. He's right in that middle. I mean, he's the perfect route runner. I mean, man, if you didn't know anything about route running and you watch, listen, I like Dez too. but Dez deteriorated and couldn't catch 50-50 balls anymore.
Right.
But if you see Dez Bryant run a route and you see Amari Cooper run a route, it's night and day. Amari Cooper is one of the best route runners in football, and he's going to get paid like that. I wouldn't. You have to pay Amari Cooper like the top 5 wide receivers in football. I do believe that. Then Dak Prescott. That's going to be a really, really tough one. I mean, I could talk an hour about this, but so we'll cut it real short because we're going to spend a lot of time on this because I understand the Dak pros and I understand the Dak cons. I mean, you're Dak's agent. I mean, are you kidding me? What he's done in 3 years? He's won 32 games.
Yep.
Only Tom Brady's won more. Anybody else can say that? Absolutely not. He's got a 96 quarterback rating, okay, for those games. He's got a much better winning percentage than Carson Wentz. He's got better stats than Carson Wentz. Won more games than Carson Wentz. Dak Prescott, when he qualifies for the touchdown-interception ratio, will be second to Aaron Rodgers in terms of touchdown-interception ratio. Try that on for size. And then Dak's agent's going to come at him with all this stuff. We're building here stability. Dak Prescott's the guy. You don't want to start over with a new guy. Dak's got the upper hand on some of those things. But then I also see Stephen Jones he's mentioning in different media outlets and in Dallas especially, he's curtailing Dak's stuff a little bit in terms of his accolades. He's saying, well, he's not Russell Wilson. He's not. Let's not get crazy. Yep. He's a good quarterback. So I think this is going to be a really tough negotiations because Dak Prescott's agent's going to come out and want Russell Wilson type money, maybe a little under that. And Stephen Jones, I'm telling you right now, is going to come out with a little bit higher than Blake Bortles money. And Blake Bortles got paid 5 years, $90 million. And Russell Wilson's 4 years, $168. So we're gonna have to find a medium in there, like a 5-year, $120. Something. Something. It's gonna have to be somewhere. Dak Prescott cannot, even though he beat Russell Wilson in a playoff game, he knows that he's not gonna be get paid like Russell Wilson. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the Cowboys organization, and I would be behind them if they did this, even though I love Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott played really hard ball, right, and said, nope, I want Russell Wilson money or a little bit below that. I'm not going to be disrespected with 5 years, $110 million. How can you be disrespected with 5 years, $110 million? Beyond me, but
right,
right. But I won't be disrespected like that, and I'll walk. I'd actually let Dak walk.
Yeah,
I would. I'd go to Plan B in my quarterbacking. It wouldn't be Cooper Rush or Mike White, by the way. You know what I mean? Dallas would have to trade or get into the draft, get in and get one of these quarterbacks. They would have to do like a Josh Rosen thing. They would have to they'd have to trade for Teddy Bridgewater. By the way, I still believe in Teddy Bridgewater. That's another thing. I don't, the Mike Glennons of the world, those guys that the Bears paid a lot of money to, and then he's not that good and all that. I don't believe Mike Glennon. No, absolutely not. It's got to be a really good quarterback. I can find one if I'm a Dallas GM that can do what Dak Prescott does. So I would play hardball if I was Jones, and I'd offer Dak Prescott a really good contract. But if he wants that unbelievable money, I would not give that to him. And and I admire Dak Prescott, I just said all those things about him that I would say if I was his agent, and those are all true things. I hope it all works out. I like Dak, and the Dak haters. I always ask them, if you just get rid of him, then who do you want? Because they hate him so bad. They'll tell you, who's the backup? And that's a little silly. You don't just get rid of somebody. You got to have a plan B. And I think Stephen Jones and those guys, if they play hardball with Dak, they'd have to have a plan B. And I think it'd be a good. Yeah.
Well, the plan B is look at the rest of the team. I mean, you can almost plug and play a quarterback into that system with Ezekiel Elliott, with Amari Cooper, with that defense that they have, with that offensive line already like put there. I mean, you can almost plug and play.
I agree with you. Maybe not a Cooper Rush or a Mike White, though.
No.
You're talking about like a Chase Daniel, Ryan Tannehill, Teddy Bridgewater,
right.
Somebody that has won games in this league and somebody that can be competent enough to get the football downfield to Amari Cooper and find Jason Witten.
Yeah.
You don't have to win a Super Bowl. I literally think Dallas is so loaded that Dak just doesn't have to screw this thing up. I think this is a perfect time for the Cowboys to get to that Super Bowl. And But the thing of it is, Dallas doesn't have a plan B right now on their roster. They'd have to go find one. But Dak will play out this year. Dallas, if Dak plays hardball, they'd have to find a quarterback next year, and it wouldn't be Tua Tagovailoa because Dallas is going to win 12 games this year.
Yeah.
So Dallas is picking late first round, and it wouldn't be Justin Herbert from Oregon either because they're going to go 1-2 or 1-2 or 1-3 or 2-3 or something like that. So it wouldn't be any of those top two guys. It'd be another first round quarterback, second tier guy. But I would trade for a quarterback that has shown me something.
Yeah, like a second or a third year guy even.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if Dak plays hardball with the Cowboys, I'd let him walk. I really would if he wants to be that way. And then, so now we've answered Amari Cooper. He's a top 5 wide receiver. I would not pay Dak like a top 5 quarterback. He'd be in that somewhere 6 to 11, somewhere in there. And then as far as Ezekiel Elliott's concerned, man, running backs are a dime a dozen. I believe that. But Zeke's in that class of like upper echelon running backs. But if Zeke thinks he's getting better than a Le'Veon Bell deal from the Jets, 4 years, $52 million, he's mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has to have a 2,000-yard season.
But even then, Michael, like we don't even running backs end up getting hurt. The wear and tear on their body. Look what the Houston Oilers did to Earl Campbell. You kind of run him into the ground. And do you want to pay Ezekiel Elliott in 2 years from now after he goes for $1,800 and $1,600? And I mean, basically, it's just you don't know. He's going to be like 28.
I think
27 years old.
Shown they don't want to pay tailbacks anymore. With the last tailback they had, what's his name?
And as a matter of fact, I'll go one further.
Murray.
If I was Zeke's agent before the wear and tear happens, I'd actually be pushing for like a Le'Veon Bell contract because he's not going to get better than that. It might be worse than Le'Veon Bell in 2 years.
Right.
I'd be asking, hey, can we get an extension like Le'Veon Bell? We're as good as him, and they would be telling the truth. Zeke's as good as Le'Veon. Give me a 4 years, $52 million. That's $13 million a year. $13 million a year. Amari Cooper is going to get paid more than that, and Dak's going to get paid more than that.
Yeah.
Because that's just the position, the running back. It doesn't command $25 million, $20 million a year. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be paid higher than Zeke, $20 million a year. Zeke's never going to see no $20 million a year. So I would, if I'm Zeke's agent, I'd want the Le'Veon Bell contract right now. 4 years, $52 million extension after this year. I'd want to play under my rookie scale, get my $8 million this year because that's $7.9 million, the rookie scale. Then after that, I'd want to sign the extension for a 4 years, $52 million, so I can get to 30 years old at least with a whole lot of money in the bank.
Yeah. So you're saying that your top priority is Amari Cooper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
absolutely. And you know what's crazy? What's crazy is that I sometimes I might contradict myself here, but I'm talking about in terms of the Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper would be ahead of Dak and Zeke right now.
Right.
To me, he's like Jerry Rice. I need that guy getting open. You see what he did when we were 3-5, and Dallas looked like they were on their way, to being a top 5 draft pick, right? And Amari Cooper completely changed that thing, didn't he? I mean, yes, Dak and Zeke play well. They're the catalyst, right? But without Amari Cooper, it's like not having it's like Dak and Zeke are like a gun.
You can have
Amari
the car,
Cooper,
but no tires.
Right, you got to have the bullets in the gun, and Amari Cooper is the bullet. He's the silver bullet.
Yeah.
You have to have the guy that can get open at any time, and on 3rd and 5 make the big plays for you. So, and it's just the way the contracts are set up now that Dak's going to come. I mean, excuse me, Amari's going to come up sooner than Ezekiel Elliott. That's why you got to take care of Amari first. But yeah, Amari Cooper, then Dak, and then Zeke. That's the way I would do it. But we'll see how they do it. Because like I said, I think I could even bring in a Ryan Tannehill, or a quarterback like that.
Yeah.
And he can get the ball to Amari Cooper and hand the ball off to Zeke.
Yeah.
So Amari Cooper.
Or in 3 years, you have a lot of good quarterbacks coming out in the draft as well.
Let me go. Yeah. And the reason I was saying I might contradict myself some because a receiver all the time is not a deal breaker in winning a Super Bowl. Teams have won championships without a great receiver.
Yeah.
Okay? I understand that. But for this specific Cowboys team, they need Amari Cooper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because without Amari Cooper, that is not opening up the passing game for Ezekiel to run the ball. And
Absolutely.
So, and
Yeah.
when you're playing behind, the defense swells up a little bit. It is a domino effect. You have to have.
And if
Amari
anybody
Cooper,
and Mike, if anybody wants to question me on saying Amari Cooper is not top priority, hey, you want to watch the first 8 games of the Cowboys last year? You pull your teeth. I'd rather stick needles in my eyes.
Yep.
They were putting 8-9 men on the box, stopping Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak didn't have Witten or a number 1 receiver to throw to. Was that fun for you to watch?
No, it hurt.
It was terrible.
It
And then
hurt.
when Amari Cooper came, right, everything was better.
Yeah, the whole world changed. People like, oh, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, guys, that is the show for today. Marcus, we're going to get really deep into some Cowboys talk here in the next few weeks because today's magic number is 18. Exactly 18 weeks away until the NFL season start. Take that into effect, guys. 18 weeks. May seem like a lot. It's going to happen like that. And it's going to be beautiful days. Beautiful days. But, guys, as always, thank you for joining us here on the YouTube channel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Interact with us on Twitter. Follow us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. And we'll be back Monday afternoon. 2:30 Eastern Time is when this podcast will premiere. Until next time, we'll see you guys then. Adios.